Hi everybody, Pickbender here. The lock in front of me is a EVVA 3KS. This lock features two sidebars, one on the left and one on the right. Each sidebar engages with 6 sliders, so overall we have 12 sliders in this lock. Each slider has 2 true gates and 1 false gate. You can see it here. Give me a second. Here we go. The false gate is to the right. However, having 2 true gates doesn't make things easier because the sidebar also has 2 grooves or notches, and those interact with the slider like this. Pretty difficult to show on camera. There's also a passive bar at the bottom of the keyway, this one here. But this is mainly for key control purposes, and as long as you don't interfere with it while picking, it doesn't do anything. The sidebars also have another security mechanism. So they are actually entering the keyway with the front nose here, with the little hook. And that hook engages with the key like this. There's the pocket, and it grabs like this into the key. As long as your tensioner is not blocking the sidebars, this is not a problem either. So the question is, why does the key of the 3KS look so fancy? You have 2 different types of sliders. One slider has a bigger pin, like this. And one slider has 2 smaller pins, like this. And the one with the bigger pin goes along the deeper cut on the key. So you have 3 cuts here, 3 lines. One is a deeper one, and this is for the bigger pin. So it moves along the key like this. Oh, come on. And then you have 2 parallel lines. They are not as deep. So for the smaller pins, like this. To pick this lock, I'm going to use a special slider pick that I made from a Chinese no-name half-diamond pick. You basically cut off the tip, and then you need a triangle-shaped needle file for the notch. In order to reach the sliders a little bit easier, the tip is slightly bent, but really ever so slightly. The idea is to grab the slider and push it up or down. You can move a slider in both directions with this pick, and the pick doesn't bend easily, so you can use a little bit more force than usual. So basically you grab it like this, then you can move it up or down. Also very good for the jiggle test. I also marked the distance for each slider so that I can better identify the slider I'm working with. It doesn't look nice, but it does the trick. The keyway is pretty narrow, and it can be really difficult to know where you are. So basically, there's also a downside to this pick. It's a bit broad, stiff and pretty straight, so that makes it difficult to access the sliders in the back. It makes it also difficult to manipulate sliders that are sitting behind another slider, and especially annoying if the first one is already set. That's why you can also use a small hook or a diamond pick, for example. With those hooks you can grab around the sliders. For the 3KS, the tensioner is really important. You have the passive key control bar and both sidebars that are pushing into the keyway. So your tensioner must not block any of them, otherwise you cannot open the lock. I'm using a waiver lock tensioner that I modified slightly by bending the sides or the arms more outwards so that the opening is bigger, because wafer locks are usually not as big as a 3KS, or at least the keyway. By doing so, it grabs the lock more tightly and it's sitting more in place. Thanks to Gary from Discord, because he had that awesome idea and it really works great. Thanks a lot. You can see the keyway of the 3KS, come on, focus, has little corners there and there. And this tensioner interacts with the corners and really stays in place. So that helps a lot, but only if you tension the lock clockwise. That said, let's give it a try. The special pick, and in particular the markings, helped me a lot to pick this lock. So I think that was really a good idea to make this pick. I saw other pickers using only hooks or dimple picks alone, but that didn't work for me. I also really like the wafer lock tensioner. I think it works perfectly and I would use it every time again. Thanks again to Gary. The 4KS has a similar shaped keyway, so it should work on this or on that lock too. I can highly recommend this if you intend to pick a EVVA 3KS or 4KS. Really give it a try. Gutting the lock can be a bit tricky at first, so you cannot remove the core with the key as it is usually the case. You have to insert the key and carefully remove it. That causes the sliders to remain in the center of the keyway and you can push out the core to the front. Here you can see why it is like that. If the key is inserted, the sliders might stick out. There's sufficient room for the sliders to move around in the inside because there are those little pockets, and inside those pockets the sliders can basically be turned around without any problems. However, there's the wall in between those pockets, and this wall prevents the core from being removed in this state. If you are too fast or not paying attention while removing or inserting the core, the sliders may move. This happened to me once or twice and then the core is stuck. So with a pick you can check which slider is not in the center position and bring him back to the center and then continue normally without any issues. This is not super difficult, but the first time it happened it caught me by surprise. Last thing, knowing where you are and the status of the sliders is an important information. Some people use fiber optic light or a light bulb behind the keyway. Both things do the trick and makes picking a bit easier. Guess that's everything. Have a good one.